Dozens of miners dead in central Nigeria following reports of carbon monoxide poisoning. We look at the rising concerns about Africans being recruited to fight on the front lines of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And activists express concerns over European Union's move to approve Tunisia as a safe country of origin. I'm Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. Welcome to Africa Live. We'll bring you the details on those stories in just a moment. But first, here's Ramanyang with the day's business headlines. Rama.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Here's what's coming up in the next half hour. Senegal's reported to be able to make its hefty March Eurobond repayment of around $450 million on time. And the logistics company Zipline will be launching commercial drone delivery operations in Rwanda's capital in 2028. We'll have the data and the details on those stories and lots more coming your way in the course of the hour. For now, let's start with the latest in current affairs with Beatrice.
Rama, thank you. We begin the broadcast in Nigeria, where at least 37 miners have died from carbon monoxide poisoning at an informal mining site in Plateau State. That's according to a police source and security situation report seen by Reuters. The early morning disaster happened at a mining pit in Kampani in Wase local government area. About 25 miners were rescued alive and are receiving treatment in hospital after inhaling carbon monoxide gas while underground. Other reports say there was a gas explosion in the pits of the mines between 7:30 and 8 a.m. This incident has sparked renewed concerns over unsafe mining practices and regulation in the area. Well, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu says worsening insecurity is giving him sleepless nights. He describes terrorism and banditry as unacceptable and a major threat to development. Although he's confident Nigeria will overcome the crisis, progress remains slow and lives continue to be disrupted. CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam reports from Abuja.
For nearly a decade, Benjamin Polycarp has been plastering walls on construction sites in Nigeria's capital. It's a life shaped by survival, not by choice. 13 years ago, he was a student back home in Gwoza, Borno State, hoping to become a structural engineer. Then insurgents attacked his community. He fled after members of his family were killed. Today, he works as a mason, far from the future he once imagined.
I don't miss plenty things for my life.
I have missed a lot of opportunities in my life. Even this job I am currently doing is not what I planned for my life. But for the insecurity, I would have gone far in life. Many times I flash back to when I was in school. I would have finished school and gone further in life.
Insecurity and this opposite.
Benjamin is one of more than 3 million displaced Nigerians, according to the International Organization for Migration. Nigeria has faced insurgent violence for over 15 years, and attacks have spread beyond the northeast. Experts say regional instability and weak border cooperation are making the threat harder to control, especially after some countries changed to military-led governments.
Immediately, Nigeria took what I could term as a hard stand against the military rulers in those countries. It became Nigeria has to take the fall because they are not there to cooperate with us.
Analysts say the crisis is worsened by insufficient security personnel and poor intelligence sharing, adding that without stronger public trust and cooperation, security agencies cannot succeed alone.
The Nigerian citizens sees insecurity fight as that of government and the criminals. The reasons being that lack of trust in government by the Nigerian citizens. But in fairness, citizens are supposed to own this fight up to 70%. That is only when the security forces can do their work effectively.
Nigeria is also turning to international partners for support. The United States deployed troops to help train Nigerian forces, while other allies are providing equipment and intelligence support.
With America's arrival here with their troops, I think it will make a lot of difference, positive difference. They are coming in with training, technological support, and all what support we have, which we need at this particular time.
Years of violence have killed thousands, displaced millions, and slowed development across several regions. Experts say lasting results will depend on stronger local policing, better intelligence sharing, tighter borders, and closer cooperation between citizens and security agencies. For Benjamin and many others, security is not just a policy goal. It's a difference between survival and a second chance at the future. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN, Abuja, Nigeria.
African governments are raising fresh concerns over reports that their citizens are being recruited through agents to join the Russia-Ukraine conflict. From South Africa to Kenya and Nigeria, officials are now engaging Moscow while also warning young people about fake overseas job offers that may be fronts for dangerous deployments. Security experts say high unemployment and the search for opportunities abroad are making many young people easy targets for fraudulent recruiters, promising high salaries and quick travel. Governments say they are now tightening cooperation with Russia to identify illegal recruiters and support affected citizens. In Nigeria, Russian officials deny any state-backed enlistment of Nigerians.
There is no government-supported program to recruit Nigerians to fight in Ukraine. There are some agencies, including Russian agencies, which are acting violating Russian law. We are ready to transmit this information to Russian law enforcement authorities.
Meanwhile, the governments of South Africa and Russia have agreed to work together in withdrawing South Africans taking part in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. In a telephone conversation, Presidents Cyril Ramaphosa and Vladimir Putin pledged that the process of returning South Africans that were reportedly lured into the conflict, into fighting in the conflict, would continue.
The South African government revealed late last year that it had received distress calls from the 17 men who claimed they were deceived into joining Russian forces and now find themselves stranded in the center of the Russian-Ukraine conflict. The men reportedly traveled to Russia under false pretenses, only to be thrust into the active combat zones. According to some of their families, the men were promised legitimate employment, including security training or jobs. The recruitment efforts allegedly prey on the high unemployment rate in South Africa. The high rate of unemployment in the country makes young men and women vulnerable to fraudulent international job offers that seem to offer a way out of poverty.
We've had many. This is not the first time that we've had this situation where the South African government had to go and help South African citizens. They've done it in many countries before, and they have demonstrated their responsibility in this regard. And this particular issue, as I say, is a bit different because we're dealing with legalities and people that have left the country illegally and so forth. People look for work on the internet, on the World Wide Web and so forth. Things get advertised. Of course, people need to take the necessary precautions to check whether it is a legitimate website, whether it is a legitimate recruitment agency.
The government has emphasized that participation in foreign military conflicts without official authorization violates South African law and carries serious criminal penalties. Van Heerden says this issue has led to false reports about the South African government having sanctioned the men to join the Russian-Ukraine conflict.
I recently engaged with some Ukrainian people here in South Africa, and they were trying to give the impression that South Africa is supporting Russia in this war because these South African young men found their way to Russia and engaged in the war, and that is a false statement. The truth of the matter here is that the South African government has not condoned any people to go and participate, whether it's on the Russia or the Ukraine side in this conflict. In fact, there is very specific laws that outlaws the participation of South Africans in foreign conflicts without the permission of government.
Some have called on South Africa to involve multilateral platforms to ensure the return of the young men from Russia, but Van Heerden believes that's not necessary.
There's a reason why South Africa are part of these international groupings like BRICS and so on. And it is to try and foster better diplomatic, economic relations with the countries that are part of the BRICS formation. And I'm sure that if there's a need, countries will use those mechanisms to open particular communication channels. But in this particular case, it doesn't require a multilateral fora like BRICS. This is a bilateral situation between South Africa and Russia. And I think because there is no animosity between the two countries, President Ramaphosa did the right thing by picking up the phone and phoning his counterpart, President Putin, to discuss the matter and find some solution.
While diplomatic efforts continue to bring the trapped South Africans home, the country's justice system is moving forward with prosecutions against alleged recruiters. 5 suspects have already appeared before a court on charges of contravening the Regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. Yolisa Njamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Russia has distanced itself from claims that African nationals have been roped into its conflict with Ukraine. It is estimated that more than 1,400 people from 36 countries in Africa have been recruited to fight for Russia. Ukraine has also previously come in for criticism for trying to recruit foreign nationals, including Africans, to fight on its side. Dacia Chernyshova has more from Moscow.
Russia has denied allegations that Nigerians are being recruited to fight in Ukraine. Russian Ambassador Andrei Podyalishev described such reports as unfounded and disconnected from the Russian government. Speaking at the press conference, Podyalishev said that if some illegal actors are trying to recruit Nigerians to fight in Ukraine, this is not connected with the Russian state, adding that any credible information would be forwarded to the Russian law enforcement authorities for investigation. Last week, the issue of Ukraine was raised in a phone conversation between Russian President Vladimir Putin and his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa. The Kremlin said in its readout that President Ramaphosa expressed support for Russia's efforts aimed at resolving the conflict via political and diplomatic means, while South Africa's readout says that the two presidents, quote, pledged their support for the process of returning South Africans fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. It added that the teams from both sides will continue their engagements towards the finalization of this process. In Kenya, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Minister for Foreign Affairs Musalia Mudavadi said that Nairobi is engaged with Moscow over the same issue. Meanwhile, Moscow has pledged its support to Nigeria and other African nations in their efforts to fight terrorism. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova noted that Moscow's position remains unchanged, pointing out that terrorism is a global issue, while emphasizing Russia's willingness to offer support in cooperation with the international community, the UN organizations and the African Union. Dacia Chernyshova, CGTN, Moscow.
Sanai Takaichi has been reappointed as Japan's Prime Minister, as expected in the country's lower house without a runoff vote. Takaichi had resigned earlier with her cabinet in a procedural move, paving the way for her re-election by Parliament. A ruling Liberal Democratic Party holds more than 2/3 of the seats in the powerful lower house after snap elections earlier this month. Analysts say this gives her a clear path to steer the country's policies toward her conservative agenda. Russian, Ukrainian and American negotiators have wrapped up their latest round of talks in Geneva today. While no major breakthroughs have been announced, Vladimir Mikinsky, the head of the Russian delegation, called the session pragmatic and efficient. He added that while difficult, the discussions were productive and a new round of meetings is expected soon. The head of the Ukrainian delegation called negotiations substantive. Julia Hamilton reports from Geneva.
No major breakthrough at the trilateral talks on Ukraine between the United States, Russia and Ukraine. The talks lasted just 2 hours here at the Intercontinental Hotel right behind me. There's lots of security here, and the media being kept at a distance from the hotel, and we've been seeing diplomatic cars come and go throughout the day. Well, the Russian delegation left earlier, and it was headed by the Russian chief negotiator Vladimir Medinsky, who told Russian media after the talks, he said that the talks were difficult but businesslike, and he also said that a new meeting will take place soon, without specifying any date or any further details. And the head of the Ukraine's delegation, Rustem Umerov, said that the discussions were intensive and substantive. The United States was mediating these talks in Geneva, hosted by Switzerland. Even though they ended abruptly today, yesterday the talks lasted well into the evening, and some progress was reported by the sides on military issues. But the territorial issue, that remains elusive. Russia demands full control of the Donbas region, for example, and for Ukraine, that's a no-starter. Julia Hamilton, CGTN, Geneva.
Iran and Russia will conduct naval maneuvers in the Sea of Oman on Thursday. The ISNA agency reports that the joint naval exercise of the Islamic Republic of Iran and Russia will take place in the Sea of Oman and in the northern Indian Ocean. On Monday, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also launched a military exercise dubbed Smart Control of the Strait of Hormuz. Reports say the exercise has closed parts of the vital shipping lane temporarily. Exercises included missile launches from coastal and island positions, fast attack craft and drone units simulating strikes on maritime targets. The IRGC says the drill tested naval readiness and plans to counter threats in the strait, which is a key artery for global oil shipments. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei earlier threatened to sink U.S. warships, saying the type and range of Iranian missiles have nothing to do with the U.S. The second round of indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran concluded in Geneva, with both sides indicating progress in efforts to resolve their dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. Iran's Foreign Minister Sayed Abbas Araghchi says Tehran and Washington reached an agreement on a set of guiding principles. But he added a deal is not imminent, noting that narrowing the gap will take time. Araghchi says a date for a third round will be set once draft texts are prepared and exchanged. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance says some aspects of Tuesday's talks went well, but that Iran has yet to acknowledge President Donald Trump's red lines. Julia Hamilton reports from Geneva.
The nuclear talks between Iran and the United States have concluded in Geneva. Mediated by Oman and held at the Oman ambassador's to the United Nations residence, the meeting was attended by Iran's foreign minister and Oman's foreign minister. Representing the U.S., Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Reuters has quoted an unidentified U.S. official as saying Iran will make detailed proposals in the next 2 weeks to address gaps in the talks and move forward. The Geneva meeting follows the first round of indirect talks in Oman held on February 6th. This round of talks lasted about 3 hours, and afterwards the Iranian foreign minister made a statement at the disarmament conference at the United Nations office in Geneva. He said that an understanding on main principles has been reached and that the path towards an agreement has started, but it doesn't mean it will be reached soon.
Iran has consistently pursued a strategy aimed at the peaceful use of nuclear energy, while demonstrating readiness to address any concerns regarding the nature of its nuclear program and to ensure its exclusively peaceful character. It was on this basis that Iran entered into nuclear negotiations and has continued until very today. A review of the course of these negotiations speaks volumes. The Islamic Republic of Iran has consistently affirmed that it neither seeks to manufacture nor to acquire nuclear weapons, which have no place whatsoever in Iran's national security doctrine.
The Iranian foreign minister also said that threats by the United States to use force against Iran must be brought to an immediate and unconditional end. Julia Hamilton, CGTN, Geneva.
Peru's Congress has voted to remove interim President José Jerry from office over a scandal involving secret meetings with a businessman. The ousted president farewelled his cabinet at the gate of the government palace after 75 lawmakers voted in favor of his ouster. Lawmakers are expected to move quickly to elect a new head of Congress, who will also assume the country's presidency. 39-year-old Jerry took office 4 months ago after the sudden impeachment of former President Dina Boluart. He's the third consecutive leader to be removed from office by Congress. You're watching Africa Live, still ahead on the program. Activists express concerns over European Union's move to approve Tunisia as a safe country of origin. The UN Refugee Agency says migrants in Libya are being subjected to systematic human rights violations, including killings, torture, arbitrary detention and forced labor. According to a joint report by the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and the UN Support Mission in Libya, migrants are routinely rounded up and abducted by criminal trafficking networks. The agencies are calling for an immediate end to the interception of migrant boats at sea and the forced return of those on board to Libya.
The situation is extremely dire. We're seeing waves of attacks against migrants, interceptions at sea where migrants are brought back to Libya, which we consider not a safe port of return because they're automatically detained. And these detention centres are then breeding grounds for human rights violations. People are extorted, they're tortured, there's allegations and credible evidence of forced labour and modern-day slavery. We're seeing rape, sexual violence, all a host of challenges and human rights violations in these facilities.
The report describes how migrants are rounded up and abducted by criminal trafficking networks, often with ties to Libyan authorities and to criminal networks abroad. They are separated from their families, arrested and transferred to detention facilities without due process, often at gunpoint, in what amounts to arbitrary detention.
Well, the UN report on Libya's migrant crisis was based on interviews with almost 100 migrants, asylum seekers and refugees from 16 countries in Africa, the Middle East and South Asia. One of the victims, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said he was set free after his family sold land to pay for the ransom demanded by the hostage takers.
So when we reached in Libya, our welcome was, we were welcomed with canes. We were beaten. The introduction was that as we are here, we're going to pay a ransom of a different amount of money, because I was told I have to pay a ransom of $10,000 so that I can be released from that jail, that confinement. First day in the morning when we woke up, there was a certain boy who wanted to rebel and he was killed instantly, and they washed him and went to throw him in the desert.
In Tunisia, human rights groups are raising alarm after the European Parliament approved a list of so-called safe countries of origin that includes Tunisia. Their concern is that the move could accelerate asylum rejections across the European Union. Adnan Chauchi reports.
The decision comes despite continued migration flows. In 2024, around 14,700 Tunisians applied for asylum in EU countries, more than 10,000 of them in Italy. Tunisia is also a major departure point for sub-Saharan migrants crossing the central Mediterranean, with a significant share of Italy's 150,000 sea arrivals in 2023 leaving from Tunisian shores.
These measures by the European Union risk falling into a major trap that could lead to serious consequences in Tunisia. Classifying the country as a safe country would effectively turn it into a place that hosts or contains, through unlawful and inhumane means, large and ever-growing numbers of irregular migrants who depart from Tunisia.
Rights groups say the designation could increase pressure on Tunisia's fragile migration system and make deportations from Europe easier and faster.
Tunisia is a transit country, and North Africa as a whole is a transit region. What is happening in the world today is driving the number of refugees and migrants higher, and it's likely to keep increasing due to political and security factors in several regions, as well as environmental considerations. Simply put, the pressures pushing people to migrate are growing, not shrinking.
The move follows the July 2023 EU-Tunisia migration deal focused on border control and anti-smuggling efforts. Observers say the safe country level could further reinforce return and containment policies along the central Mediterranean route.
It is clear that since signing the Memorandum of Understanding, the European Union has moved along a path primarily aimed at preventing arrivals to European shores, regardless of the cost. Whether that cost is the humanitarian toll at sea, which we are witnessing today, or the humanitarian consequences reflected in the conditions faced by migrants in transit and host countries.
As crossings continue across the central Mediterranean, the debate highlights Europe's ongoing struggle to balance border control with protection obligations.
While European officials argue the classification streamlines asylum procedures, critics here warn it could shift the humanitarian burden southward, leaving Tunisia to manage growing migration pressures with limited resources. Abdel Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Now, celebrations continue across China on the second day of the Chinese New Year. Chinese 2026 Spring Festival travel rush is breaking records. The latest booking data show flight reservations for the holiday are up 63% compared to last year. Authorities estimate total cross-regional trips could reach 9.5 billion during the 9-day holiday, which would be a historic high. Many travelers are heading north for snow and ice experiences, with Harbin ranking first for holiday homestay bookings. Traditional southern destinations are also heating up, with travel inquiries to Sanya and Xishuangbanna up 56% year-on-year. Smaller cities featuring intangible cultural heritage experiences are also gaining traction. Hotel bookings in Huangshan in East China's Anhui province, for example, have increased 1.7 times compared to last year. Inbound tourism is rising sharply as well. Travelers from Russia have jumped 471% year-on-year, while bookings from the Republic of Korea have grown 95%. Meanwhile, long-haul outbound trips lasting more than 15 days are seeing strong growth, with Northern Lights tours and Australia, New Zealand routes among the most popular choices. Destinations in Southeast Asia like Singapore, Thailand and Malaysia also remain popular. And at this year's Spring Festival Gala, traditional Kung Fu artists shared the stage with an unexpected partner, robots. The WooBot performance featured dozens of humanoid machines moving in sync with martial arts, presenting a blend of cultural heritage and cutting-edge technology. CGTN's Liu Xiaomin has more.
Powerful punches, precise footwork, and perfect timing. The show blends centuries-old Chinese Kung Fu with newly developed humanoid robots, creating one of the most severely striking moments of this year's gala. Behind the spectacle is a month of engineering work.
Many of the technologies used in this performance didn't exist before we began preparing for the gala. They were developed specifically for this show.
To make it work, engineers brought the robots into the 600 square meter studio weeks before rehearsals. Using laser radar scanning and 3D modeling, the machines mapped the entire stage, learning exactly where they were in space. One of the biggest upgrades this year, speed and precision.
The robots have to move in perfect sync with the music, just like human performers. This year, they can run on stage, perform fight sequences, and quickly move into position. Their speed is 5 to 10 times faster than last year.
The most eye-catching moment comes when robots and martial arts students perform close-range combat drills together. For the young performers from Henan's Togo Martial Arts School, sharing the stage with the machines was a new experience.
At first, we watched the robot perform. Then we practiced standing beside it, keeping some distance. Gradually, we moved closer and coordinated with it.
What comes naturally to students is far more complex for robots. To support the high-energy performance, engineers reinforced the robot's joints and added protective padding to ensure safety on stage.
It
may look simple. The left hand stays steady while the right hand grips the staff. But in just 1 second, the robot has to grab the staff, adjust its hold, and lock it firmly in place, all while moving at high speed. That level of coordination is extremely challenging and marks a major technical breakthrough for us.
For audiences, Robot is more than just a performance. It's a glimpse of how technology can bring new life to a centuries-old tradition. Liu Xiaomi, CGTN.
Well, China's 2026 Spring Festival Gala is reimagining how tradition meets technology. By blending heritage, digital innovation, and modern storytelling, the show turned ancient culture into a global visual experience, bringing myths, art, and intangible cultural heritage to life in new ways. CGTN's Li Shuang brings us the story.
Animated horses dash about across the stage. Flower petals generated by artificial intelligence, or AI, drift into the audience. The gala transformed China's most watched cultural event into a fusion of tradition, art, and technology. Nearly 80% of the programs use virtual production tools, including AI, augmented reality, and digital visual effects, to present culture in new visual forms for modern audiences.
So far, no one has used AI in such a complex and deeply integrated way.
Technology became part of the storytelling system, integrated into choreography, stage design, visual language, and narrative structure.
I think the level of technical innovation and technical difficulty in this program is the highest in the history of the Spring Festival Gala. Every year, we try to use the most advanced technology to meet the needs of the program's narrative expression, using technology to serve the program itself.
The director is referring to Ode to the Flower Deities. Using AI-generated imagery and extended reality technology, the performance brought together ancient seasonal symbols, historical figures, and traditional Chinese philosophy. The 2026 Year of the Horse Spring Festival Gala was the first gala following the successful UNESCO inscription of the Spring Festival. By combining classical aesthetics with modern technology, it presented traditional culture in new visual forms, making it more accessible, immersive, and engaging for younger audiences and international viewers. Li Shuang, CGTN, Beijing.
Well, let's now go to Ramanyang for a look at the day's business news, Rama.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Here's what's coming up in the world of money. Senegal is reported to be able to make its hefty March Eurobond payment on time. And the logistics firm Zipline will be rolling out commercial drone deliveries in Rwanda's capital in 2028.
Holding guns towards protesters.
Were you worried about your life at that particular time?
Not at all.
Excellency, thank you very much for your time. What is your assessment of the state of the continent today?
Africa has the potential to power itself.
Excuse me.
Let's start in debt markets, specifically in Senegal. Senegal is our starting point. It's expecting to make its hefty March Eurobond payments on time. That's according to at least two sources that Reuters spoke to, who said that the West African country has raised enough financing in tax revenues and regional markets to make those payments. Senegal owes more than $480 million on that Eurobond that is due in March. At the same time, it's grappling with a debt burden that the International Monetary Fund says has gone up as high as 132% of GDP by the end of 2024. Now remember, this is all coming after the country's current leadership uncovered billions of dollars in borrowing that was not reported by the previous administration of Macky Sall. Still on debt issues, Ghana says it's paid at least $910 million in interest under its domestic debt exchange program. The move marks the sixth coupon settlement since the restructuring began as the country is working to emerge from its deepest economic crisis in a generation. In a statement, the Finance Ministry said the payment is intended to reassure both domestic and international investors and strengthen market confidence. It says it aims to support the country's credit outlook while also promoting stability across the financial sector. The ministry adds that the latest settlement is a second full cash coupon payment with no payment in kind component, which reflects its improved fiscal capacity and a much stronger solvency position. Still on debt, the Republic of Congo says it's repurchased $354.3 million of its outstanding amortized 2032 Eurobond, which has a 9.875% coupon, through a cash tender offer. Now, the operation helps to manage high interest debt. The Central African country will be paying $947.50 per $1,000 in principal for the amounts of these notes, plus accrued interest. The total consideration, including accrued interest, amounts to about $346 million in total. Now, the tender offer is part of Congo's debt management operations. It allows the country to reduce its outstanding debt obligations under the existing high interest notes. The Republic did not need to apply any proration factor as the amount of notes tendered fell within the revised cap. Notably, this transaction was conditional upon the Republic's concurrent issuance of new notes with terms acceptable to the authorities. Kenya and the United States will resume negotiations in Washington next week in search of a bilateral trade deal. Now, Kenya exported goods worth $737 million to the U.S. in 2024. It held talks with Washington last August to safeguard market access. The Kenyan Trade Ministry says talks will be held from Monday through to Thursday, followed by one or two meetings after that to firm up deliberations. Now, this renewed push comes as Kenya's imports from the U.S. climbed to $930.8 million in the first 11 months of 2025. That's according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau. The latest figure already exceeds the $771.3 million recorded for all of 2024. It is the highest import bill from the U.S. since 2015. Over in Rwanda, the logistics company Zipline is preparing to launch commercial drone delivery in Kigali in 2028. Now, this expanded partnership would make Rwanda the first country worldwide with nationwide autonomous delivery coverage and Africa's first urban drone delivery system. CGTN's Ethan Tashobia has that story.
These drones are carrying something more valuable than cargo. They're carrying time. Time that can mean the difference between life and death. At Zipline's distribution center in the remote Rwandan town of Muhanga, autonomous drones are launched daily, delivering blood, vaccines and essential medicines to hospitals and health centers, primarily in the southern and western regions. This is one of Zipline's two facilities in Rwanda, with the other located in the east.
We have started to build the third hub so that we can have 100% coverage of all hospital, health centers and health posts located in Rwanda. As in impact, it has had a tremendous impact in revolutionizing the way medical doctors and nurses are able to treat patients. We have seen a complete transformation in terms of maternal mortality. It has almost reduced to zero because a drone can deliver blood right on time to save a patient. We have reduced maternal mortality by 56% in hospitals being served by zipline. We have also intervened in animal health.
Since launching here in 2016, Rwanda became the first country in the world to operationalize large-scale medical drone delivery. Now, nearly a decade later, it is going even further. Following a new expansion agreement, the country will become the first in the world with nationwide autonomous delivery coverage. It will also be the first in Africa with urban drone delivery and an autonomous testing center, backed by a $150 million award to Zipline from the U.S. State Department.
In the new agreement with the government of Rwanda, it includes that we build a third hub that will help cover the western part of the country. Number 2 is drone deliveries in Kigali. We plan to deliver healthcare product within an urban setting like Kigali, but also other things. Could be pizza, could be food, the way you're already seeing home delivery by restaurant using motorbikes, cars, bicycle. Now the drones are coming into the ecosystem.
At Kabwai Hospital, a unit of blood arrives within minutes, dispatched from Muhanga following an emergency request. Inside, it is already being prepared for a patient in critical condition. For patients, especially in critical care, minutes mean the difference between life and death. And here, those minutes have been saved since 2016. With the expansion of autonomous logistics nationwide, Rwanda and Zipline are looking to deploy AI and robotics to deliver cost-effective, life-saving supplies to millions. Locals say drone delivery has become the backbone of emergency health care, and as it expands, it will bring even greater cost savings, not just in Rwanda, but across the continent.
Before drones, we sometimes waited hours. Now we receive blood in minutes. It has changed emergency care completely. It has saved lives of so many mothers and children.
We received $150 million to improve the product, to hire more people, to build more hubs in the existing 5 countries where we operate in Africa. The $150 million is for Africa, not just for Rwanda. We are in Cote d'Ivoire, we are in Nigeria, we are in Kenya, and we plan to continue to expand this technology. So for Rwanda, we have already started building the next hub in Karongi, and we are getting ready to test urban deliveries in Kigali.
As Rwanda embraces AI-driven delivery, officials said this model could soon extend beyond medicine to new forms of air mobility. Zipline is in advanced talks with regulators and the industry players to launch services in Kigali by early 2028, with experts predicting significant reductions in delivery time and cost, signaling that the future of air mobility in Rwanda is imminent rather than long-term. For now, though, the mission remains clear: deliver medical supplies to remote areas faster, save lives. Ethan Toshebia for CGTN, Muhanga, Thousand, Rwanda.
Muslims worldwide are entering the month of Ramadan. For last-minute shoppers in the Gambia, households that are already struggling with the cost of living now have to deal with rising food prices too. CGTN's Lena Igwenyiba now reports on how the country's heavy dependence on food imports continues to drive up the cost of essentials like rice and sugar.
Behind me is the circular market, one of the main and busiest markets in the Gambia. With Ramadan just days away, shoppers are not only buying for today, many are stocking up for the holy month. But for low-income earners earning between $40 and $75 a month, the math is tight. A single bag of rice costs close to $45, nearly an entire salary. Add cooking oil, sugar, potatoes, the cost quickly rises. And for a country where extended families often live under one roof, one bag of rice is nearly enough.
The problem right now with buying is that goods are expensive. The women are coming, but what they want to buy and the money they have is not enough. And right now, they mostly just come, ask about the prices, and then leave. But we all know why the goods are expensive. The dalasi is weak, and foreign exchange is higher. What we were buying the dollar for last year has increased this year. All of that affects the goods. because Gambians do not buy in Dalasi. They pay in dollars or euros for imports.
Like many small economies, the Gambia remains exposed to global price movements. Much of its food supply is imported, meaning currency fluctuations and international market shifts directly affect local markets. For families observing Ramadan, food is central, not only to nourishment, but to community. Evening meals are shared, guests are welcomed, charity is encouraged. This year, however, some households say they are feeling the brunt of it.
The market is really expensive. A bag of potatoes is $30 and onions $27. As it is now, if I buy a bag of rice, it is costly, and women are tired because goods are expensive.
Seriously, the market is very expensive. You can see I already did my shopping, but I couldn't get all that I needed because everything is costly. Like I already bought my things, everything, but it's very expensive.
Although inflation has moderated compared to last year's double-digit levels, many consumers still say the relief has been slow to reach household budgets.
Well, when you look at the Gambia, it's a small open economy. And a small open economy that takes prices from the global market. We are involved in international trade, but if you look at our production capacity, you will agree that we do not have the production muscle to influence market prices. As we speak now, the inflation rate is around 6.7 or 6.9%. In 2024 or early 2025, it was at 13%. So I don't think it is peculiar to the Gambia. I think this is something that is globally an issue. It's rather unfortunate all of us are in this struggle, and hopefully Ramadan is just a month.
For many families, that means adjusting portion sizes, reducing variety, and prioritizing only essential items for iftar and suhoor. Ramadan will still be observed with devotion, but as food prices remain high and incomes stretched, many households are entering the holy month with tighter budgets and difficult financial choices. Lena E. Gwenyiba, CGTN Banjul.
One last story for you. Europe's largest food retailer, Carrefour, says that it's targeting an operating margin of 3.2% in 2028 and 3.5% by 2030. This comes as part of the company's plan to enhance profits and speed up its refocusing on its core markets in France, Spain and Brazil. Speaking ahead of an investor presentation, the chairman and CEO, Alexandre Bompard, said that Carrefour is aiming for a cumulative net free cash flow of $5.92 billion over the 2026 to 2028 period. Notably, Carrefour's operating profit margin has declined every year since the pandemic, from 3.1% in 2021 to 2.6% last year. Despite two previous strategy plans and overhauls, Carrefour's share price is still down by around 30% compared to July 2017, when Bompard took over. We'll leave it there for the time being, but here's what's coming up at the top of the hour. We'll be refocusing on the debt question, specifically in Senegal. How much repayment progress has been made there, especially after the country says it will be able to make that hefty March Eurobond repayment of nearly $500 million on time. We'll explore that and plenty more and get you some analysis at 1800 GMT. For now, back to Beatrice for the sports.
Rama, thank you. Well, let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead. Record winners Al Ahly of Egypt draw Esperance of Tunisia in blockbuster CAF Champions League quarter-final.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
And And we begin your sport with African football. Al Ahly of Egypt will face Tunisia's Espérance Sportif de Tunis in a heavyweight North African quarter-final of the CAF Champions League following Tuesday's last 8 draw in Cairo. Ahly advanced to the quarter-finals as group leaders with 10 points, finishing 1 point ahead of Morocco's Asfar. The record 12-time champions are aiming to extend their tally to a 13th continental crown, while the Tunisian giants are chasing their 5th title and their first since 2019. Al Ahly will travel to Tunisia for the first leg before hosting the return fixture in Cairo. Meanwhile, defending champions Pyramids FC